another beer. Don't drink another beer. Piece of
NBA players are earning bigger salaries than ever before. But stats show that almost 65% of basketball players go broke. Both old legends and new stars are losing millions. So we've counted down the top 20 for you. You'll never believe how much cash was lost by the person in our number 1 spot. Number 20, Ray Williams, $2.5 million. Ray Williams might never have been an all-star, but he was a star in his own right during his 9 years in the NBA during the 80s. He played with the Knicks and the Nets in that time. At certain points in his career, he was one of the best people to hand the ball to, if the team needed a couple of points. He retired in 1987, but that was a pretty bad decision. His life fell apart almost straight away. He'd earned an incredible $2.5 million during his career, but he was so short on cash that he had to apply for his NBA pension much sooner than expected. He was given $200,000. But sadly, he lost it all when he invested it in a real estate opportunity that turned out to be a scam. He had pretty much nothing left. It was so bad, he was soon living in his car, which he parked outside a friend's house in Boston. But finally, he was given a chance. In 2011, the Boston Globe ran a story on how he was down on his luck, and some of his former teammates got in touch. Through them, he landed a job as a recreation specialist at Mount Vernon. His life got a little easier after that, but he sadly passed away in 2013. $2.5 million is a lot to lose, but it doesn't come close to the amount that the next person on our list had lost. Number 19, Sidney Moncrief, $7.2 million. Sidney Moncrief had a star-studded career, literally. In his 11 years with the NBA, he was a 5-time All-Star. And if that wasn't good enough, he was also the very first Defensive Player of the Year award before winning it again the next year too, making him the only guard in the history of the game to win the award twice. During his NBA career and making his name with the Milwaukee Bucks, he earned $7.2 million, a very impressive salary in the 80s. He did try to grow his wealth after retiring. He bought a car dealership in Arkansas while working as an assistant for the Dallas Mavericks. But somehow, in 2005, he filed for bankruptcy. He owed tons of cash to car dealerships, a bank, a newspaper, and even the Mavericks. No, we don't know why. Lucky for him, he wasn't broke for too long. A job as analyst for Fox Sports and a coach of a G League team, Fort Worth Flyers, bailed him out of trouble. It's always impressive when someone goes broke, but bounces back. So here's another one. Number 18, Rick Mahorn, $8.5 million. Rick Mahorn is best remembered as an essential part of the Detroit Pistons championship run. He was a pretty reliable player, so you would expect him to be just as reliable with money. And he kinda was. It did take him 10 years after retiring before he ran into financial trouble. But he finally filed for bankruptcy in 2009. Weirdly, that happened even though he had a job as a WNBA coach. So what happened? He defaulted on one of his mortgages and soon owed a whopping $200,000. But, like we said, he's reliable and had soon got himself 2 more jobs. One as a broadcaster for his old team, and one coaching for Ice Cube's Big 3 league. He was back on track financially in no time. Rick went totally broke before bouncing back, but you don't need to file for bankruptcy if you lose millions, as the next person on our list proves. Number 17, Eric Strickland, $13 million.
But when you're dealing with data and the numbers, it's subjective. It's the only voice in the room that is only going to tell the truth of what it is.
Eric Strickland played for 9 seasons, peaking during his time with the Dallas Mavericks. His career was short and sweet, and he retired at the age of just 32. But that didn't mean he sacrificed cash. He earned an impressive $13 million. But he wasn't immune for trusting the wrong person. One day, a friend approached Eric with a really great real estate deal. It was for the purchase of a piece of land, which Eric figured he could flip for a really good profit. He even got his dad to double-check it for him, but everyone agreed it looked legit. And after all, it had come from a friend. So, what can go wrong? A lot, it turns out. Eric soon realized that it wouldn't make him even half as much cash as he'd been told. Even worse, his so-called friend had made a huge profit off the bogus deal. We don't know exactly what Eric's finances look like now, but he's definitely nowhere near as rich as he could have been if that friend hadn't taken him for a ride.
We're not going to be that voice. We're going to be the voice that just says, Here's someone you should take a look at. You make the decision.
He's not the only player who lost a lot of cash because a friend lied to him. The next player on our list can join that club. Number 16, Randy Brown, $15.1 million. Randy Brown played with the Celtics, the Kings, the Suns, and most importantly, he had a 3-ring winning run with the Chicago Bulls during his years with the NBA. From 1995 to 2000, he earned $15.16 million. It's pretty hard to lose that kind of cash, but Randy had become a statistic. In other words, he's part of the 60% of NBA players who go broke within 5 years of retiring. It's pretty unfortunate because he did try to be smart with his cash. He invested it into loads of real estate and even restaurant chains, often choosing what he'd invest in thanks to a friend's recommendation. Sadly, his friend should have never been trusted, and he was soon in serious financial trouble. Luckily for Randy, his old teammates stepped up to help. The Bulls offered him a job as director of player development, and then later even promoted him to the assistant general manager. It wasn't long before he was back on steady ground. It's always nice when old friends come to the rescue. Sadly for the next player on our list, his team couldn't save him. Number 15, Dan Issel, $18 million.
The incident occurred as he walked toward the locker room following another loss just the other night.
Hey, pour another beer. Go drink another beer. Piece of
Basketball Hall of Famer and 7-time All-Star Dan Issel spent his entire NBA career with the Denver Nuggets. It served him well, earning him an incredible $18 million and 2 post-retirement jobs as the head coach and an executive. It was his other business that got him into financial trouble. In 2009, he was forced to file for bankruptcy as a result, owing an eye-watering $4.5 million to 35 different companies. Sadly, he auctioned off a lot of his personal possessions from his time with the NBA and ABA to raise enough money to pay them back. It had to hurt, because these things had a lot of sentimental values for him. But he did achieve his goal of paying back every cent he owed, which is pretty impressive. Dan got himself back on track, but the next person on our list wasn't able to dig themselves out of their hole. What happened? Number 14, Mookie Blaylock, $31.8 million. Mookie Blaylock is still talked about as one of the greatest point guards in the history of the NBA, especially when mentioning the Atlanta Hawks. After all, he won steals titles 2 years in a row. That's 1997 and 1998, in case anyone's checking. But his life was less smooth after retiring. Sadly, he soon slipped into a drug and alcohol addiction that ate up his wealth, which was once impressively almost $32 million. It wasn't just that he was spending loads of cash on the drugs themselves. He was also losing tons of money on legal fees. Finally, it all boiled over when he crashed his car while high. It wasn't just his car that was a loss, though. Tragically, a woman lost her life in that crash, and Mookie nearly followed her. He narrowly survived, but he was sentenced to 15 years in prison and lost the last of his money he had left. His sentence was thankfully shortened. He served 3 years, 1 year suspended that cost him 1,500 hours of community service, and 8 years probation. So, he's out of prison, but he's not totally free just yet. Hopefully, he uses this opportunity to get his life back on track. It's not always a huge life-changing problem that leads to people losing millions, though. Just ask number 13, Eric Williams, $39.8 million. Eric Williams enjoyed a 12-year-long NBA career, even if he did hit a bump in the road during his 3rd season with the Boston Celtics. He was badly injured that year and never quite bounced back, even if he did get to play with a newbie called LeBron James. He might have got hurt that year, but his bank balance didn't. He retired with a whopping $39.8 million. Somehow, just 10 years later, he was homeless. We don't know exactly what happened, but there's no doubt he'd fallen behind on some ginormous bills, which he couldn't pay. The worst was when he got served with papers showing he was $24,000 behind on his child support payments. I think we can all agree, it doesn't look great. After that, he kind of fell under the radar for a while. But there's good news. These days, it looks like he got back on his feet and paid off his debts. We don't know how he did it, but it's pretty impressive. We might not know how Eric fixed his debt problem, but we sure do know what the next player on our list did to get himself out of trouble. Number 12. Clifford Robinson, $60 million. Clifford Robinson, or should I say Uncle Cliffy, was one of the most efficient scorers the Portland Trail Blazers ever had. He was named Man of the Year in 1993 and became an All-Star the year after. He also became one of the oldest players in the game, only retiring at the age of 40. His hard work was reflected in his bank balance. He earned just over $60 million during his career. But just 2 years after retiring, he declared bankruptcy. It's crazy to think you could lose all that money, but his bankruptcy documents showed he only had $7.1 million in assets with an incredible $12.4 million in debt. So how did he come back from owing $5 million? Well, he opened a marijuana business in Portland that turned out to be a big earner. It was smooth sailing for him after that, although he sadly passed away in 2020. He wasn't broke at the time though, and we have to applaud that. Not everyone can bounce back from bankruptcy on their own though. Sometimes they need a little help from their friends, like the next player on our list. Number 11, Joe Smith, $61 million. Joe Smith played for an incredible 16 years, hopping across 12 different franchises in that time. Weirdly, in the end, hopping around is what ate into his $61 million fortune. See, every time he played in a new state, he'd buy a home there without selling any of the other homes he already owned. By 2018, he'd literally just spent all the cash he made in the NBA. Luckily, he happened to be friends with baseball player Alex Rodriguez. Rodriguez was doing a reality show at the time and got Joe involved. It was there that he set up Joe with a financial advisor, who soon had him back on his feet and got his debts cleared. Friends helping friends is a great thing to see, but the next person on our list wasn't the helpful friend. He was scamming his friends instead. Number 10, Christian Laettner, $61 million. Christian Laettner played with multiple teams, but he became an all-star during his time with the Atlanta Hawks. Despite his solid performance, he wasn't well liked. In fact, he's the world's most hated Duke's University graduate. He proved why when he went broke in retirement. He'd made over $61 million during his career, but managed to blow it on bad business deals and poorly chosen real estate opportunities. He owed a whopping $14 million to multiple people and needed to do something fast to avoid bankruptcy. So, he got in touch with Scottie Pippen, his teammate from the 1992 Olympic team. He told Scottie that he can get him into a dream deal that would result in the purchase of the Memphis Grizzlies. He took the cash from Scottie's investment, but the group never bought the Grizzlies like they'd promised. And no, nobody gave Scottie's money back. Luckily, Christian didn't get away with this blatant scam. Scottie sued him for $2.5 million, and he won. So he got his money back, and Christian got his just desserts. Okay, sometimes friends might not be so helpful, but you can always find the right friend and do something like the next person on our list. Number 9, Darius Miles, $62 million. Darius Miles started playing with the big boys straight out of high school. That's pretty impressive, but unfortunately, in his 5th season, he suffered a knee injury that put him out of the game for 2 years. When he finally recovered, he attempted to come back, but he could never really play the same way again. So he retired at the age of 27. Despite the injury, he somehow managed to make a ton of cash during his time in the NBA. He earned just less than $62 million, but he lost it all in the traditional way: bad business and real estate deals. When he filed for bankruptcy in 2016, he had about $460,000, but owed over $1 million. It looked bad at the time, but he's doing all right now. He got together with his former teammate, Quentin Richardson, and started Knuckleheads, one of the most popular basketball podcasts out there. That's a good idea. Plus a few other ventures helped Darius get back on his feet. And he's not doing too badly now. It's easy to go broke when you retire and the money stops flowing in. But the next person on our list managed to go broke even before that. Number 8, Kenny Anderson, $63 million. Kenny Anderson had a 14-year-long career, but he made his all-star appearance with the New Jersey Nets. He raked in almost $63.5 million over those years. But when he retired in 2006, he'd already nearly blown every cent he'd earned. Why? Well, mostly it was totally his own fault. He had a whopping 7 children with 5 different women and needed to pay child support for all of them. It wasn't just the kids that were taking all his cash. Every time he got divorced, there was another huge settlement to pay. He already racked up quite a few DUI arrests, each of which cost him loads of cash. Luckily for him, he managed to turn his life around, and he's doing okay these days. If you want to learn more about how he got his life back, you can watch a documentary he made about it called Mr. Chips. Kenny isn't the only player who was struggling to pay his child support. The next person on our list was having so much trouble, the courts actually decided to help him out. Number 7. Glenn Rice, $68 million. 3-time All-Star Glenn Rice was one of the best scorers in the league. He played with multiple teams, including the Heat and the Hornets. But even though he peaked in the 90s, a little before the NBA salaries went wild, he somehow managed to earn over $68 million. But a few bad business decisions meant he was down on his luck a few years later. So, he petitioned for the court to lower the child support payments because he couldn't afford to live on his own, and the autograph signings and memorabilia sales weren't helping much. He must have had a pretty good argument because the court agreed, and it seemed to help because he's doing alright these days. $68 million is a huge amount of money, but we're going to jump up a little with the next player on our list. Number 6. Larry Johnson, $83 million. Larry Johnson, or Grandmama, became a 2-time All-Star with the Charlotte Hornets and scored an iconic 4-point play with the New York Knicks. As a fan favorite, he probably deserved to earn a whopping $83 million over his career, even if it was cut short by a bad injury that saw him retire at just 31 years old. Unfortunately, the injuries didn't just end his career, they also ate into his bank balance after forcing him to retire. The multiple expensive surgeries to keep Larry going in his everyday life weren't the only problem for his wallet. He also had multiple kids that he had to pay child support for, and you'll be shocked to hear how much it was costing him. One of his exes was owed an eye-watering $890,000 because he hadn't paid in so long. In 2015, he filed for bankruptcy, but the only way he could pay back that huge sum to the mother of his child was to give her his house in California. Luckily for him, she accepted, and his debts disappeared. We don't know what his bank balance looks like now, but we hope he's back on track. Sometimes it's not something bad like an injury that causes a player to go broke. The next player proves you can have too much of a good thing. Number 5. Derek Coleman, $91 million. Derek Coleman started his career with the New Jersey Nets, won Rookie of the Year in 1991, and became an All-Star 3 years later. In 2005, he decided to retire with an impressive $91 million in the bank. He couldn't lose, except in 2010, he was filing for bankruptcy. How did that happen? Well, it looks like he somehow partied all his wealth away. He was on top of the world and picked a lavish lifestyle to match, not realizing that he couldn't actually sustain it forever. So, what did he do? Amazingly, he chose to go back to school. He got a degree and now helps young people at risk by introducing them to basketball as a Syracuse University ambassador. As if getting kids off the street wasn't enough good work, he's also an activist for clean water in his hometown. It's all pretty impressive. Derek chose a unique way to make a comeback, but the next person on our list is still waiting on his. Number 4. Shawn Kemp, $91.5 million. Shawn Kemp was the king of the highlight reel in the 90s. It's not every day a player makes 6 straight All-Star games after all. He also helped put Seattle on the basketball map, so you could say he deserved to earn $91.5 million over his 14 years in the NBA. His life after retirement looked pretty smooth, but actually around 2022 is what revealed that he only had about $1 million left. So what happened to the other 90? It all comes down to legal fees and child support payments. After all, he is paying child support to 6 different people. It's gotta add up, right? We don't know how much cash he has now, but hopefully it's just a matter of time before he becomes a rich man again. Shawn might have created his own problems, but at least he wasn't arrogant about it, unlike the next person on our list. Number 3. Latrell Sprewell, $97 million. There's no doubt 4-time All-Star Latrell Sprewell was a great player. His time with the Warriors and Knicks proved his skills, but it was also peppered with problems with his attitude. NBA fans will all remember the time he choked his head coach. It would be that attitude that would cause his downfall. When the Minnesota Timberwolves offered him a $21 million contract in 2004, he turned it down because he wanted more cash. It was a huge mistake. They were the last team who would offer him a contract, and he was forced into retirement in 2005. Sure, he made $97 million by that time, which should have made him happy for the rest of his life, but he'd blown it all in just 3 years. In 2008, his yacht was repossessed after he missed too many payments, and he fell behind on his mortgage, which meant his $1.5 million mansion went into foreclosure. There's no doubt he caused all those problems himself with his bad attitude. You can keep making the same mistakes forever like Latrell did, or you can do what the next person on our list did. Number 2, Vin Baker, $97 million. Vin Baker kicked off his career with the Milwaukee Bucks, where he stood out as a talented player. But it was only when he joined Seattle in 1997 that he got to the playoffs and became a 3-time All-Star in his first season with the team. By the end of his career, he'd earned over $97 million. Unfortunately, it was funding some pretty dark addictions that had started even while he was still playing. He lost all the money and was forced to make a decision. So, he started working hard to turn his life around. Luckily, he also happened to know someone that can help him out. Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks, that owned the Supersonics while Vin was playing for them. He was kind enough to gift a Starbucks in Connecticut to Vin, which really helped him get back on his feet. Now that he's living a clean life, he's gone from the Starbucks to working as an assistant coach for his first team, the Bucks. Vin lost all his money pretty fast, but still not as fast as the last person on our list. Number 1, Antoine Walker, $105 million. 3-time All-Star with the Boston Celtics, Antoine Walker quickly became known for taking any shot that he got a chance at. That and his contribution to the Miami Heat team that won a title meant he retired with a gigantic $105 million. But somehow, he went broke before he even retired. He said it was all down to a pretty bad gambling habit, plus a few run-ins with the law. Despite the fall from grace, he's actually back on track now. You can even see his face on TV, and is earning enough cash from that to keep him happy. Sure, as we've just seen, a lot of NBA players go broke, but others have a unique way to hang on to their money. Want to find out which NBA players live like average Joes despite being rich? Take a look.